Hold up, I ain't trying to stump, man, but the Yeezys jumped over the jump, man. I be in and out of arenas like I'm Scottie Pippen. Left my elbow in the pot, a la Vince Carter.
Bitch, you weren't with me shooting in the gym?
James Harden with the range on me, nigga, way back.
Coach, they won't knock me off my pivot, get it.
Been flowing stupid since Vince Carter was on some through the legs arm and a hoop shit.
And you can live through anything if magic made it.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, now you do.
Okay. Yes, sir. We are back. Round of applause for yourselves. This is your guy, Marcellus Ease. And of course, you already know we got some dope stuff on the docket for today. The league is definitely cooking up. Storylines as usual. Jaylen Brown putting the Celtics on notice about his value. Some of these NBA teams got to deal with these players streaming. It's a whole new monster, but we'll touch base on how Jaylen Brown definitely woke up the Boston Celtics. And then we'll touch down in LA and check out what's going on with the Machiavellian king himself, LeBron James. As this time around, a lot of the clutch plants, Dave McMenamin and others, had let it be known LeBron James in the regular season have felt a little slighted. Of course, we're hearing past instances in typical clutch fashion, but it got even more interesting when some of those same clutch plants revealed their true feelings about how good Luka really is. And speaking about the teams in the West, we're going to check out a few people from the Bay Area crew as Andre Iguodala and Draymond Green let it be known that the Warriors were not necessarily a super team. We're going to dive deep into that. It's multiple layers to it. Last but not least, we're going to hear from Anthony Davis as he reflected on his time in New Orleans, gave a lot of key details about what that organization is really about. And also, we'll take a look at AD's current position in today's NBA, being a quote-unquote max player who's not necessarily available as often as he should. It's a different NBA landscape he's operating today, trying to get a brand new contract. So this has been quite an interesting season for the Boston Celtics because Jaylen Brown has proven his value this season on levels that the media, as well as the Boston Celtics franchise, are probably not willing to admit. And after the team had blown a 3-1 lead, Jaylen Brown hopped onto his live stream and revealed some of the dynamics that made him successful this season. Management, as well as the coaching staff, have begun to pivot away from. First of all, as NBA fans, there's a few questions we have to ask ourselves. For starters, could this Boston Celtics team have finished with the number 2 seed if Jaylen Brown had been the one with an Achilles injury out for most of the season and Jason Tatum leading the charge? Second of all, with the Celtics supposedly should be in a rebuild this season, why did the media keep moving the goalposts and all of a sudden heading into the playoffs, they had such high expectations? Lastly, the Luka Dončić MVP noise that was made, particularly coming from ESPN, as they love clickbaiting the NBA audience. But how all of a sudden at the end of the season that they ranked him much higher than Jaylen Brown, even though the Celtics had a higher seed, and Jaylen Brown all season long has proven that he is at least either number 1 or number 2 when it comes to two-way players in the NBA. He's had major scoring duels with James Harden, also dropping 55 points on Kawhi Leonard while guarding him throughout the game. Jaylen Brown has gotten a rare opportunity to show exactly what he is, because ever since his arrival in the Celtics, when they had him coming off the bench, when Kyrie Irving was there, also Haywood, it almost seemed like he was a dangling piece for them to initially make a trade for a player, let's say like Anthony Davis at the time. But in this segment, we're going to get into it, as we'll hear directly from Jaylen Brown, emphasizing certain key points in the season and his value to this Boston Celtics team. He is going to have to give himself flowers because we have seen certain spots throughout the season where he is not part of the NBA agenda, aka the Player of the Month award that was in the early part of the season. A little bit questionable right there. And also, if you've ever been part of a sports team, sometimes the coaches do have a captain that's assigned to push his agenda or just make sure the team is following a certain path. But then you have certain teammates while you're on the battlefield. They're the ones that galvanizes everyone naturally. And I believe for this Boston Celtics team, Jaylen Brown has always been that guy. But to start out, this is going to be a nice backdrop as we'll hear from Tracy McGrady and him confirming that there are issues behind the scenes between the Boston Celtics and Jaylen Brown. Once again, he is not part of the agenda, and that Jason Tatum Achilles injury has put the Boston Celtics in a very peculiar situation.
And I think it was a little bit of frustration on JB's part, rightfully so. I felt like he's been targeted this year, so he has a right, to feel that way. If you watch some of the games and some of the calls that's been called on him versus what we see from other guys, so I stand with him on that. Do I agree with him going to do that right after the game? It's a different age, man, and how these guys communicate, right? They have their own platforms. I think, his frustration lies deeply within the organization and other things that,
Of course,
we don't really
I agree
have
with that.
details to. There's just been a lot of stuff, that I've been hearing just going on with the Boston organization, with JB, so I think part of him is like, I showed you guys more of who I am as a basketball player, not only just, what I did on the basketball court, but the leadership that I displayed within, this team. And you've seen that, not having our, best player in JT. You've seen a different side of me and what I'm able to bring to the game of basketball. So all that stuff, I think just came into play with him and his frustration.
Once again, we have to ask ourselves this question. If the shoe was on the other foot and Jaylen Brown was the one out for the season with the Achilles injury, could the Boston Celtics have finished in a second seed positioning with Jason Tatum leading the way? And any slight hesitation that you have at this moment when it comes to that question really shows you that these two are a lot closer on the same level versus Jason Tatum being compared to SGA, Jokic, and Giannis. I'm not saying Jaylen Brown is better than Tatum or vice versa. They do bring different elements to the Celtics that is needed, especially Jason Tatum with the decision making. He's a lot better at that. But again, there is an issue with recognizing the value of Jaylen Brown. And it's been that way ever since he entered this organization. Matter of fact, you could say ever since he's made an appearance within the NBA. I've never heard management complain about someone being too intelligent. Very strange. But now let's get to the meat and potatoes as we'll hear from Jaylen Brown himself. And this is the beautiful thing about this media landscape, because certain guys that are not part of the agenda actually has the medium to talk directly to the fans and even give themselves flowers. Keep in mind, Victor Wembanyama was a top MVP candidate while his team for the time being was at the second seed, the same way Jaylen Brown led a team that was allegedly supposed to be in a rebuild to the same slot within the Eastern Conference. And he was able to do that playing way more than the 29 minutes per game Victor Wembanyama displayed this season. To start off, let's take a listen to Jaylen Brown emphasize his importance to this team and how entering this season, the Boston Celtics, they didn't really know where they stood from night to night.
Great season. I'm extremely proud of our group. Once again, I've been on championship teams. I've been on teams went to the finals. Honestly, this was the most fun season I've ever had in basketball. Personally, like the uncertainty of going into the season, the uncertainty of going into every game, having a fight for every win, just did something emotionally, I feel like, for all of us. Like, we became more together. We had to fight, and we had to play with passion every single night, and we did. Most people wanted us to tank. Most people probably still wanted us to tank because how the season turned out. But you never know how a season is going to go, so all you can ask from the players is come out and give it your all, and this is what this group did. Like, this group coming from some players, first-year players, some players have never played quality minutes in the NBA, to being able to compete in the playoffs and add value was tremendous. Like, I learned a lot from this group, but also feel like I instilled a lot into this group.
Some of the guys on this team have not been used to getting quality minutes. But the fact that he led them to a 56-win season, while at the same time the Celtics were still making trades, not only coming from the last offseason, but even while in the season. Once again, Jaylen Brown has had back and forth shootouts with guys like Tyrese Maxey, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard. Just think about a couple of years ago, nobody in the NBA ecosystem would even imagine that this would be the case.
In terms of that passion and that energy that I try to carry and play with all the time, I felt like it just transpired through the team, where I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I feel like even in this game, like I'm ready to die about this shit. Like my back is fucked up right now. Like in my mind, it was like, it was to the end. It is war, you know, and we came up short, but my guys, they fought. And I'm gonna go to war with guys like that any day of the week. Any day of the week. Give me Peyton, Hugo, Baylor, D. White, Jordan Walsh, Neemias Queta, all of those guys, I'm gonna go to war with them any day of the week. They come in to fight, they lay it on the line. When you play like that, when you got a group of guys like that, no matter what you're doing, a friend group, a business project, you know, whatever it is, you got a chance to win. You got a chance to win. So, you know, those guys all season long been doing that. And I wish that we, you know, the difference is when you get to the playoffs, rotations get cut. You get to the playoffs, you know, some of those guys play less, but that was what made our team what it was. And I get that, because that's normally what happens. Like, I'm not like saying that's the wrong thing to do. Like, when you get to the playoffs, usually that's how it goes. Like, you know, you play less guys. Like, that's standard in basketball. So I'm not, you know, I understand that. I think everybody understands that. But our group, what made us special is that how hard we played and the style of play that we played. That shifted. And I think that caught up to us.
Now notice right there, Jaylen said that style had shifted. The real question is how the politics played out behind the scenes. Did the coaching staff as well as Brad Stevens believe that the team should run the offense or just continue to have you lead the charge? Or should they begin to pivot back to the system where Jason Tatum, not necessarily 100%, having things just run through him? And any one of us would be frustrated if we put in the work and just had the season that Jaylen Brown had, just to have the Boston Celtics management believe more in a Jason Tatum who is clearly not 100%. This is where things get tricky for the Boston Celtics, because they could have never imagined a situation where Tatum would be out for a year and Jaylen Brown would get to prove his real value. It's not really a guarantee that Tatum will ever get back to what he used to be. That still has yet to be seen.
A little bit in the end, as well as Joel Embiid coming back, which also made a big difference. But what a year, man. It was incredible. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into the season. And it wasn't aesthetically pleasing to some, analytically pleasing. But for people that was at the games and people that was there, I hope they realized, man, I put my all into this year, into leading this group, into trying to win as many games as possible, play as many games as possible. I took pride in just being on the floor every single night and competing to win. You know, it didn't end in my favor. And maybe didn't aesthetically look the way other people look, but some people don't carry them same qualities, like the leadership, the work ethic, the willingness to great season, man. Obviously still I got emotions about it and whatnot, but this group was amazing.
Funny thing about the league nowadays, guys are a little bit robotic when it comes to just their perception in the media. I don't know if the 24-hour social media cycle is just making guys more afraid of just displaying who they really are. But the fact that Jaylen Brown's willing to go into a live stream and just reveal his true essence, you gotta believe that the same thing would apply when he's on the court or in the locker room with his teammates. Once again, we've all played on teams where There might have been a captain that the coaches kind of rocked with. They was like, okay, this is the guy, he's the leader. But then there was someone, when you were down, the game was almost over, or you're just trying to make a comeback, and there was a person that everybody instantly gravitated to. It was organic, a true natural leader while you're in the battlefield. That is most important. And in my opinion, I believe Jaylen Brown for this Boston Celtics team is that guy. Jason Tatum is the more talented playmaker. He's almost the faceless face of the Boston Celtics. Like, he's a perfect guy for that because we don't really get too much of his personality. And with these franchises, you know, being worth tens of billions of dollars, these owners, especially the new ones coming in, they're not going to want guys displaying too much personality to sway an audience or just to get any kind of PR backlash on social media. Things are very fickle right now at this moment, and taking a stand on anything could make some of these teams take a major PR hit. Again, that works on a corporate level, but when it comes to just being on the battlefield and having that team leader galvanize players, especially to achieve anything while their backs are against the wall, like this season for the Boston Celtics, you got to have that emotional type of rah-rah guy.
So, you know, what a year fighting with these guys and growing and learning with these guys, and personally learning and growing for myself. And I'm sick of the basketball nerds and the analytic junkies that have used these analytics and these numbers to just kind of turn their brain off. And people, the state of the game is a major concern for me. Like, kind of where the game of basketball is gone into like this analytical, you know, comparative sport versus like what you see and what you feel, the emotion of the game, the passion, the leadership, the stuff that makes us all human beings that we've gotten away from.
And those are the very same people that devalue a player like Jaylen Brown. There's just so many battles going on within the league. You have more of an efficiency, business-based crowd that the owners could more relate to, and they're swaying the decisions of what's going on around the league. Who's valuable, who's not. You hear narratives like the mid-range is dead, but at the same time, you look at the era in which they say these things, and you see Jimmy Butler make the NBA Finals twice. Kawhi Leonard wins the NBA Finals. Giannis wins one. SGA is able to capture an NBA Finals title. All these players use nothing but the mid-range. That kind of formulaic thinking makes the game very robotic, and this is something Adam Silver is going to have to fight through because it is affecting the overall just aura of the NBA game. At some point, different generations will begin to tune out.
And it's all about just what the numbers and metrics represent. And you can use metrics and numbers to justify bullshit. People do use metrics and numbers to justify bullshit. But from a heart, passion, grit standpoint, this team was a great team who maximized their potential, who came out and fought and played hard every single night and got better and grew and learned. In a year that everybody thought this team was going to be written off, it was going to be a fucking lottery team by the numbers. Explain that. It was supposed to win 35. You use analytics for everything else. What analytics justify we was only supposed to win 35, 40 games? The analytics don't measure everything. They don't quantify they don't quantify everything. So I know this is the state of the world. People just turn their brains off. They don't watch the game, and they don't care about the intangibles. But call me old school. The intangibles mean something to me. Motherfucker willing to die. Motherfucker willing to sacrifice. Somebody who's a leader. Somebody who's relentless. Somebody who has grit. Somebody who, you know, the back against the wall, they're gonna be there. You can't. The analytics don't quantify that.
And the analytics definitely don't qualify the NBA game once you get into the playoffs. The fact that the referees tuck in their whistles, the physicality is definitely turned up quite a bit. And most importantly, these pressurized moments generates different kind of reactions from players. Some of the players' careers gets broken or even made in the NBA playoffs. Just going off the top of my head, I remember Harris out in Brooklyn. He got exposed in the playoffs, and he was known at the time as a really good three-point shooter. But after getting exposed in multiple pressurized moments in the playoffs, he was never the same player. That's something that analytics cannot measure.
So I'm very concerned with the state of the game because obviously, people are going to say whatever analytically about this team or analytically about the NBA and where it's going, but, how people feel when they're in the stands watching you play and at the game and the emotion and the rawness and the passion that you have has an impact as well. So don't forget about that.
Now, Jaylen Brown has a few of his boys speak on the live chat, and they emphasize how this season, the NBA media at large kept moving the goalpost every time Jaylen Brown kept leading the Celtics past their expectations. It's funny how they started off the year where the overall narrative was that they should be tanking, perhaps to get a nice little lottery pick, staying out the luxury tax. And they went from that to the media just having the expectations of them making the finals, especially when Jason Tatum made his return. And they knew he was not even 100%. Sometimes the NBA media overall has their funny way of showing admiration for a player, while at the same time they try to slight the person. You could look no further than the pundits who tend to side with LeBron James. The fact that they keep comparing Michael Jordan, what are they really saying? He's the measuring stick for greatness. And the same thing would apply here with Jaylen Brown. He's performing so well, even with Jason Tatum being 70 to 80%, they still have an NBA Finals expectation out of you.
The energy's still shifting, man, so we're going to keep our heads forward.
You mentioned earlier on the stream the media machine. That's all it's doing. They love to pump the narrative, so it's like it kind of divides even Celtics fans at this point because some want to prove to the other, like, oh, well, they're not going to do this or they're not going to do that. In reality, we all know what was said this year and still got the second seed. Still made people argue if you're MVP or not. And we all know the real answer to that is you are the MVP. Like you don't foul bait all the time. You're not a big dude that's getting 40, 40, 40 every night, which is crazy. But like you can't win every single year your whole career. Like, so it's like, where's your lane? It's already there. I think the media machine knows it and they can't admit it. So like the number one memory of the year is just watching the uptick slowly each game. Like as that record passed the 30s, it's like, well, now what are you going to say? Oh, they can't win the title. And it's like, why is expectations getting added on during the season when in the beginning of the season, it was you're going to gap year. Like Millie's, I saw him at a Red Sox game. He's like, how you feeling about the Celtics? And I told him, I was like, yeah, we're still going to get the 2 seed. The whole team is stacked. It's NBA players. So that's my number one memory besides the cases and got sold or something.
They moved the bar so easily. Like, the expectation was it's a tanking team, and now they, we get to the playoffs, and now it's championship expectation. Like
no one expected Embiid to take the whole year off and then play in the playoffs.
Exactly.
That's not cool. That's basically saying like, oh, I didn't do any work on the test, but I got an A+.
Yeah,
and then when it mattered, he worked. Like that's dumb, But.
Yeah, and then people, for me personally, they've been waiting on me to fail because there's people been having low expectations for me since I got drafted, and I've just been consistently moving and getting better. I've had some day ones and some real ones that have been supporting me from day.
Hey, you hear that? Ever since he got drafted, they had low expectations waiting for him to fail. Remember, Jaylen Brown was coming off the bench that year that Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward were on the team. The media, even knowing that he was a 3rd overall pick, kept on reporting rumors that he was sort of a piece that needed to be traded so they can get a finished product like Anthony Davis. Again, it's good to humanize some of these guys because just imagine this is your entrance into the NBA. You've come on into a legendary franchise like the Boston Celtics with the 3rd overall pick, but yet they got you coming off the bench and you're consistently hearing trade rumors involving your name. Even Jason Tatum has stated himself that he had reservations about joining the Boston Celtics with them just being so crowded. Just imagine how Jaylen Brown felt, because at the end of the day, Tatum was always viewed as a guy who could be a franchise figure.
But there's a lot of people who have expected less and couldn't wait for me or can't wait for me to fall on my face or be who who they think I should be. But I'm gonna just keep getting better. I feel like I'm just entering my prime. I'm still getting better. I'm growing, and I'm gonna just keep showing y'all motherfuckers that this ain't the peak yet. I can't wait to get back in the gym. I can't wait to keep mastering my craft, because I know that I can be even better than I did this year, which some people probably couldn't even fathom that I would do it this year. They're not gonna be able to fathom when I do the next year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's my mindset and that's my approach. And the people that care about all the analytics and shit like that, they won't never understand. So, you know, the game has changed a lot. The game is kind of moving from this like 3-point era to this more physical in the paint style of play.
Yep.
That is facts. The analytical crowd has made almost every single team the same. And with all that 3-point shooting, the middle of the floor, especially around that high post area, has gotten even more easier for guys to get their shit off. Look at how SGA is completely dominating and just being able to play make and get buckets. The analytics for the most part will always be a reaction to what's going on. Let's just say if the next 5 NBA draft classes have a bunch of 7-footers who have a dominating post game and could just kill you from the mid-range, you'll eventually see the analytics adjust to that new generation of players coming in. No one's saying to be anti-analytics. It should be used as one of many tools, but not the full crutch.
So I think as a Celtics, we're gonna have to adjust with that, because we're kind of still like in that 3-point era. You know, that was like that Curry kind of created. But
Kinda
now it's
ruined basketball, in my opinion. Everyone just started
going-
chucking up threes, man.
it's
you
going
know,
back
like
now,
every
though.
team, and that's what I feel like people aren't talking about.
it works.
It works, but like, I mean, other teams are doing it. Why aren't we hearing about people complaining about other teams?
Yeah. but-
Like it's not fair.
Yeah, it's changing now though. Like you see teams, like it's going back to almost like the 90s, like where the game is played in the paint, where most of, the points in the paint, the physicality is increased, all that type of stuff is shifting a little bit. So I think we'll need to shift to some degree. I'm not sure what the front office thing, of course, we'll talk to them when we get to them, but it was a great year. You know, we did what we had to do. Shout out to this group, man. This group was a special group. So proud of this group and the way we played. I wish we trusted that style of play a little bit more, but I know playoffs kind of shifted our rotations and what we wanted to do.
Once again, that's Jaylen Brown lightly softening, just being very political and letting the audience know that something had shifted when they entered into the playoffs. Did Joe Mazzulla or Brad Stevens had the Celtics kind of move away from what they were doing in the regular season, just running everything through Jaylen Brown? Or did they not trust him enough and rather just go with a Jason Tatum who was really only at 70%? That says a lot about their confidence or just the direction they want to take with Jaylen Brown. Jaylen is a very highly intelligent guy. Right there, it could signify to him that this organization does not believe that he can level up. Or should I say, they don't necessarily want him to level up because it's not necessarily part of their plan. Eventually down the line, those contract renegotiations are going to be quite interesting. And it wouldn't shock me to hear that Jaylen Brown is emphasizing his positioning within the organization, the importance of it.
But I'm so proud, and it was my favorite year of my basketball career. One, streaming with you guys, chat, was awesome. Like being able to talk to y'all was like therapy every single day. You know what I mean? I mean, not every day, like once a week or whatever, what I was doing. Just to be able to get on here and give y'all the perspective and kind of, because these narratives be going left and right, just to hear it from the horse's mouth. But then also being able to just be a part of a group that just, through the uncertainty, came to fight and came to compete and came and went to war. I'll take a team like that any day of the week. You know what I mean? My team, we're not hanging our head for nothing. You know what I mean? We came out, we competed, we ended up coming up short, but that's the nature of the game. That's the nature of the sport.
And within that uncertainty, Celtics fans now are getting a clear picture of the talent level that they have on this team. They have a duo that's much more closely related when it comes to where they rank in this whole NBA hierarchy. And these are good problems to have. But when you also look at the financial side, the NBA now is structured a lot different than it was when Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown got their huge contracts. Owners today don't necessarily want two players having the public perception that they're at the same level, because that means they'll have to shell out almost equally matched contracts, which hurts you in today's league when you're trying to build a championship contender. You're going to dive deep into that luxury tax, paying out hundreds of millions of dollars a year, and any sort of injury or just setback could cripple a franchise for years. So again, Jaylen Brown is fighting multiple fronts at the same time. The NBA media trying to downplay his shit, and also the league structurally changing and not being set up for two co-stars to almost be paid at the same level. Jason Tatum's Achilles injury and just not knowing that if he'll ever come back as being his old self only complicates the situation.
We're gonna keep staying tapped in, but it's been a great season, man. I appreciate y'all. I feel like I was the only streamer basketball player this year. You know what I mean?
I didn't see any. I didn't see any.
Continuous throughout the whole season.
The whole season, I streamed
Hooped
and streamed once a week, which I don't know.
All-Star, jersey retirement, high school jersey retirement in Atlanta. A lot of different.
I think Kyrie was streaming for a little bit. I'm not sure how consistent he was, but I think he was the first one I saw. So shout out to Ree. But I think you'll see more players because the media has gotten so bad where players
need to,
so you can hear from them because it's just the clickbait and the negativity is too much. But I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful for the ups and downs. I'm grateful for the community. I'm grateful for the Celtics allowing me to come in, and do my thing and use their platform to be to inspire and to be inspired. So season's over, but the energy's still shifting. We got motion coming towards you, coming to a city near you. So we appreciate y'all. We see you next time.
Well said from Jaylen Brown. Celtics fans, I can only imagine, are very conflicted because for a long time, there was sort of a convincing from NBA media that Tatum was on the same level as SGA, Jokic, and Giannis. Now we're coming to the realization that Tatum and Brown are almost at the same level versus Tatum being on the same tier as SGA, Giannis, and Jokic. But at the end of the day, this is really nothing new. The NBA media throughout its history has always tried to pin star duos against each other. I would say in more recent times, Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. You could also add Kevin Durant and Stephen Curry. They're always going to be hunting for potential conflicts. Unfortunately, this is the current media landscape, as the money is drying up and companies are consolidating. But hey, kudos to Jaylen Brown and the Boston Celtics. These are not only good problems to have, but you also got one hell of a season. So in the very beginning of the Max Kellerman and Rich Paul joint venture on the Clutch Sports LeBron James propaganda machine, I've alluded in quite a few segments, and I'll link in the description below, of how Rich Paul and Clutch Sports really feel about Luka Dončić being a less impactful player than LeBron James, especially when it comes to the playoffs. As crazy as that sounds, Rich Paul and Max Kellerman numerous times have alluded to this. And in this segment right here, not only we're going to get more confirmation of this, but also in part 2, we're going to hear from another LeBron James plant and Dave McMenamin, as almost by accident, he lets his true feelings come out of how Clutch Sports really feels about Luka leading the Lakers to the promised land. And let's not get it twisted. So far with Rob Pelinka at the helm, Luka's prime in LA is not guaranteed. We've seen him mess up a few first-round picks. He allowed Goodwin to walk and eventually be an effective player for the Suns. Alex Caruso also ended up going elsewhere when the Lakers did have an opportunity to give him a much earlier and cheaper extension. And finally, he did waste a mid-level exception on Gabe Vincent. So outside of the Westbrook situation, there's been a number of mistakes. That's why I stated Luka Dončić peaking out in LA is not a guarantee, especially when teams do not want to hit that second apron. Luka has a pending 10-year Supermax extension coming up, and at the same time, the Lakers do not have any established cheap draft picks that are on the roster, cheap contracts to match along with Luka. So it's a very tight window for Rob Pelinka right here to operate in. But to kick this off, we're going to hear from Rich Paul and his partner in crime, Max Kellerman, as Mad Max definitely lets his feelings be known. And sometimes they do use their co-hosts as a proxy to get certain messages out. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
You think analytics said...
It's a tool. I agree. This is why James Harden was the darling of the analytics community. Luka Dončić is now. I don't think that style of play that Harden played and that Luka plays is conducive to winning championships. Who in the NBA could you swap Brunson out for and think the Knicks are still as good as they are right now?
Shay.
One, who's an MVP.
Are you saying guards?
No,
you saying just guards?
Well, would you take? Okay, how about this? Brunson or Luka? You're trying to win a championship. Brunson or Luka?
Okay, I can tell you who mine is.
Go ahead.
And I'll tell you the reason why.
Go ahead.
I would say Brunson. And the reason I would say that is because I've seen Brunson play with and without the ball.
I agree.
I haven't seen Luka as talented as Luka is. And Luka is crazy talented. He can score from anywhere on the floor, excellent passer, but I haven't seen him play where his usage is low. You know what I mean? The good thing about Jalen Brunson that we're seeing now is he's off the ball a lot, right? You're using Carl, and the thing is, I don't blame Luka for that though. Like, I wonder what it would look like if Luka was playing with LeBron when LeBron was younger.
Or Kyrie Irving
well
right now.
I can tell you how it would look.
Or Jalen Brunson right now. Come on.
Say,
Right.
Brunson, Brunson played with both. We've seen Luka play with another guard. I would say Brunson, if you're picking Brunson, it's because of the optionality that he gives.
For sure, 100%.
If you're picking Brunson.
Now, once again, notice in this segment, Luka is LeBron's teammate, but yet they're justifying the fact that Jalen Brunson does give a team more optionality. Once again, we got to keep in mind, LeBron James right now, he's in a contract negotiation with the Lakers ever since last season. Rob Pelinka and the Lakers did have options out there to improve the roster, but they did not. Look how Pat Riley was able to grab Norman Powell for the cheap to come down in Miami for a season. The Lakers could have made similar moves. Through this very same podcast, Rich Paul let it be known numerous times that Rob Pelinka had no plans, and maybe LeBron was willing to take a pay cut if he was presented a nice roster to make a sacrifice for. This summer is going to be very interesting to see how both LeBron James and the Lakers make moves, because LeBron James being in LA is good for his business as well as the Lakers. That possible farewell tour, there's a lot of money involved in that, especially to be made from the Lakers side. And with LeBron James entering into free agency, now we're going to get to the part where Dave McMenamin sits down, presenting past issues that were lightly perceived as slight. There was a game ball given out to JJ Redick for winning his 100th game, even though in that same day, Luka Dončić passed 15,000 points, and also Rui Hachimura exceeded 5,000 points. But Pelinka gave the game ball to JJ Redick. LeBron James perceived that as slight. That's a very interesting short leash that a superstar player has with a legacy franchise like the Lakers. Stick around, this is going to be good, because at the end of this segment, Dave McMenamin is going to have a back and forth with a co-host who in his mind believes that the Lakers should move off of LeBron. Dave McMenamin is going to let him know how Clutch really feels about Luka trying to lead the Lakers to a championship. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
So we're talking about March 31st.
Yes, sir.
Lakers beat the Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
It completes what ends up, we don't know, but at this point, in retrospect, they've now gone 16-2 over a 32-day stretch. And in this game against the Cavs, LeBron James, most wins in NBA history combined, regular season.
And against the Cavs.
And against the Cavs, right? 15,000 points for Luka Dončić for his career, 5,000 points for Rui Hachimura. And it secures back-to-back 50-win seasons and 100 wins in J.J. Redick's coaching career. So in the post-game locker room, J.J. Redick doing a good job and kind of recognizing this group accomplishment is listing off all the things that were done by his team that day. And as J.J.'s addressing the room, Rob Pelinka takes his turn to address the room, is holding the game ball, and presents it to J.J. Redick. Shortly thereafter, LeBron James, who, of course, he arrives to the arena wearing like an outfit and then showers and changes and stuff and leaves in that outfit. Well, this night was still in the practice shorts, ice bags on his knees, slide sandals on his feet.
And he walked right out.
Walks out.
By the way, Dave McMenamin here on the Rich Eisen Show talking about his piece that's on ESPN.com that's kind of burning up the entire NBA community, and certainly here in Los Angeles, California, live on the Rich Eisen Show. So LeBron James walked out with bags of ice on his knees, or took those off and left? Do we know that?
No. I mean, I saw it with my own 2 eyes. The bags of ice were still on his knees. And so this is like,
he's just
out. So to be clear, this isn't
out.
because he doesn't think JJ Redick is deserving of a moment. It's not about that at all.
Yes.
He has a great relationship
And it
with
was a
JJ
beautiful moment. The video of his children
Yes.
saying, "Congratulations, Dad."
Right.
You know, beautiful
It
moment.
was taken by LeBron to be another example of the Lakers not appreciating him.
And that completely sounds like LeBron. You got to read the room with him. Oh, LeBron's upset. He just walked out with bags of ice on his knees. Again, the thing with the Laker organization, they're used to having stars. And LeBron being from small town Akron, where they cater to their stars, almost like a god. It's just the Laker building, they're so used to it. And not only there's a new sheriff in town, we got to take a look at the new owners. How do they feel about this current Lakers team, knowing that they have an impending 10-year Supermax contract to give out to Luka? In order to win in today's NBA, teams have to spend money. And the Lakers' brand new owner, he borrowed a lot of Saudi and private equity in order to buy that team. With that said, them just only being a year out from buying the team, we really haven't seen them make moves like that, even though Luka's in his prime.
Where does that come from?
I think it's from an 8-year relationship that has had a lot of stuff build up. Now, I asked LeBron after Game 4 against the Thunder. He's making the same route out of the arena. This time he's wearing regular clothes.
Okay, good. Yeah.
He's wearing the same clothes he arrived in.
Right.
And I said, in order for you to come back to play for the Lakers, I understand you're going to have to figure out whether you want to play. I understand you're going to have to both sides will have to figure out what the money. But that aside, is there any static that needs to be cleared up in order for this to move forward? And he said, there's no static from me. I would say that perhaps that means that even though he had this moment, that was a real moment of indignation is what he felt.
Yeah.
It's not something he can't get over in order to keep playing for the Lakers.
Right.
But the Lakers, you're dealing with one of the best players of all time. Where he goes on the list, that's up for debate. But
9th, if you saw First Take the other day.
Now, interesting thing, Dave said that as if they don't have at least 7 to 8 to 10 players that could arguably say, hey, we're also great. Guys like Magic Johnson, Elgin Baylor, Shaquille O'Neal, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kobe Bryant, Jerry West, James Worthy. The list goes on and on and on and on. The Lakers are very similar to the New York Yankees. No one's bigger than the fucking program.
And also someone who has now worked for you for 8 years, been the face of the franchise, delivered a championship, all of those things. Are you ever going to make the guy feel like you want him?
Now, that's a very interesting statement coming from Clutch Sports client Dave McMiniman. Didn't the Lakers go ahead and drafted his son? Also making that trade for Russell Westbrook, which even left Jeannie Buss coming out of her personal pocket.
Is any of this born out of the fact of how he found out about the Luka trade?
I haven't been told that specifically.
Okay.
LeBron has on the record said that, of course, if that trade comes across your desk, you make it.
Right.
He understands it as close as he is with Anthony Davis and is to this day. No, I don't really think it's more about once the trade occurred, the way the Lakers went about their business.
Now, that right there could mean two different things. Either how they treated LeBron once they got Luka, or the fact that after they got Luka, the Lakers just basically coasted. Once again, the Buss family has sold the team, and ever since they landed their big fish, the roster moves kind of been a little bit stagnant. I'm not going to lie. You already know Austin Reeves has an impending contract. He's not a fast wing player. You know your franchise guy needs help when it comes to that, especially defensively. So to enter into the following season with the same damn roster is crazy. I don't know how the hell Rob Pelinka pulled that off without the media saying nothing. We talking about Luka's in his prime right now. He's in his prime. And the way he struggles with his weight sometimes is not even a guarantee he's going to be in the proper position to maintain that shape.
can they know which are the accolades that matter and which don't? I'm like, I don't know, maybe, but this one, the most wins in all time. That seems to be like one that you might want to underline.
And and you get it against the Cavs.
And against the Cavs.
What happens now? Like what's the orders of business here for Rob Pelinka and the Lakers, since you say that whatever did happen on that night is something that can be bridged for LeBron to still play here? What's
number one is the Lakers are going to give LeBron the time that he needs to decompress from the season.
And that's heard where Rob said that yesterday.
Right. And determine whether he wants to play or not.
Yes.
My inclination, and also kind of the way he managed the other night, is that he will want to come back and play.
And that should come by no surprise. LeBron James and all his business ventures are out in LA. Matter of fact, his net worth has doubled ever since he started that venture out there with the Lakers. So it's been good business for Jeannie Buss, the new owners, as well as LeBron James. And the cherry on top is going to be that farewell tour with all the ticket sales, jerseys. That is a big cash cow waiting to happen. Don't be surprised if down the line we eventually see a lot of the behind the scenes similar to The Last Dance on Netflix.
I mean, the tone that LeBron was giving after Game 4 against OKC was not, you just saw me play my last NBA basketball game.
I didn't get that sense either.
Yeah. So that part, okay, let's assume. Now, we can't assume because you got to allow him to have his process, but like our hunch would be that he's going to come back. And then you have to figure out, it's not necessarily just the number. The number matters. The number matters based on the value that he brings. It also matters on a respect level. But also, as I reported, an agent tell me, and this is someone who has had clients on the Lakers in the last decade, does not represent LeBron James, but said, all right, you got to give LeBron James a number, and you got to give him a why behind the number.
Facts. And that right there, I believe the number could even be a minimum contract if Rob Pelinka constructs a team that can possibly go after a championship. I know it sounds crazy. You're probably thinking, what, LeBron's 41, about to be 42 soon? But just like in my previous segments, in regards to this situation, Rich Paul and Max Kellerman has alluded to multiple times that LeBron James feels that he's more impactful at this point of his career when it comes to winning than Luka is. At the very end of this segment, we're going to hear McMenamin display those exact sentiments. But for those of you who are watching the visual version, as you can see, for 2027, the Lakers have about $117 million to spend this offseason before they hit the second apron. Keep in mind that excludes LeBron James' salary, Austin Reeves not opting out of his deal yet, which he probably will, and the Lakers still having to fill a bunch of players in between, a bunch of established guys. They don't really have young draft picks that are on the come up, that's been on the team for 2 or 3 seasons. A lot of the mistakes Rob Pelinka has done in the past, it's looking like it's going to force Austin Reeves, if he wants to stay, to take a pay cut. And on top of all that, Luka is going to be eligible to opt out of his deal a year early and qualify for that 10-year Supermax contract that can basically earn him well over $80 million a year. That's just Luka alone. I repeat, he could be making well over $80 million a year. So you see where the conundrum is for these brand new owners that spent well over $10 billion using Saudi money and private equity. They're going to want their return on investment, maybe not necessarily being aligned with building a championship team where you're paying well over $150 million a year just in luxury tax.
And if that number is under market value, then you got to say, we want you to take X because we plan to do Y with those extra dollars. And like, if for a guy who claims to be about winning and says that that is something that continues to fuel him, that should fall on a receptive ear. And I think you look back to the negotiations of 2024, LeBron James took a pay cut. It was minor, but he did take a pay cut to help the Lakers get out of the second apron restrictions. And he would have taken a larger pay cut had the Lakers been able to convince someone like a James Harden, Jonas Valanciunas, or Klay Thompson at the time to take the money that he would have left on the table.
Hey, right there, Dave McMenamin confirms it. LeBron James would have took a pay cut had Rob Pelinka actually present something that made sense, something of substance. And unfortunately, he did not. He struck out on all those facets. The Klay Thompson signing. Like I said, Norman Powell was out there for cheap. Pat Riley picked him up. There's always options. And if you really believe in Luka, especially, you will maximize that prime window right now. But once again, there's new ownership, and you factor in Rob Pelinka is a genie bus hire, which is sometimes really that family and friends hookup. And he hasn't really proven that he's a solid GM to bring the Lakers to the promised land. He has not proven that at all.
So who's on the list of the player?
That's a great question. I don't know that yet. And I didn't know about, Jonas and James and Klay till much further along in the conversation. And again, these things were May 13th or something like that. These are conversations that probably should happen around the draft in late June.
Well, Austin Reeves is one of them, right?
Oh yeah, LeBron loves playing with Austin Reeves.
Right, and you could see that.
Yeah,
you could see that, and obviously Luka's going to be there. And if I'm the Lakers, I want to see these three guys together.
Now, those are interesting statements about Austin Reeves because Rich Paul has alluded to multiple times in that whole podcast venture with Max Kellerman that Austin Reeves should have been traded elsewhere for additional pieces to put around Luka. Once again, I'll link that in the description below.
But how do you put this all together? And who's the one who decides? Is Genie still,
Genie's,
full thumb on the scale here? New management, because this is a lot of money we're talking about committing. A lot,
right?
And also, Genie knows better than anybody about what it means to have somebody of LeBron's stature retire, and the Lakers do the Lakers thing by rolling it out. Like, you want to talk about respect? I mean, they will roll it out for him if that's what LeBron wants, don't you think? I mean,
right. So we're not totally sure whether. I had a couple people close to LeBron suggest to me this year that, I know other guys have done the retirement tour. That might not be what LeBron wants. Now,
really,
I'll believe it when I see it, quite frankly. But the people who told me it would have the authority to know that came right from LeBron's mouth.
Now, right there, LeBron James saying that he might not want a farewell tour. That's really money out of the Lakers' mouths. A situation like that, I wouldn't be shocked if he feels slighted and he'll take his farewell tour with another franchise. And that's a huge revenue generator right there. So it could be one of the many pieces that LeBron James is trying to leverage in order to get a new deal with the Lakers.
Now, I had Kobe Bryant tell me that straight from the horse's mouth.
Right.
In 2013, I did the first interview with him after the torn Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him about, you look at the end, he said, I don't want a retirement tour. And then lo and behold, in 2016, he had one. So
sit downs like these are very interesting because even though Dave McMenamin is being quote unquote interviewed, he's really speaking to the management of the Lakers as well as Rob Pelinka. But jumping forward right here, you're going to see a prime example of it as he begins to tie Magic Johnson in with his peers, guys like Brian Scott, who are making comments about being happy that LeBron James is leaving the franchise.
It's not an absurd thought, and obviously he's very much involved with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of anything of that like that happening since Mark Walter took over, but I don't know.
If he's in the organization, why wouldn't he be the one to start walking around and just delivering a message for the organization, someone else in the organization?
Well, one of his Showtime teammates is going on done a couple of radio interviews, Brian Scott, saying Lakers need to get rid of LeBron.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So
I don't know, man.
You see right there how Dave McMenamin attached Magic Johnson's to Brian Scott's comments? I don't know. It's like a little slight insecurity because a lot of Laker legends, they have stayed fairly quiet about LeBron James being in the building in that Laker castle. A few of them slipped up too on their true feelings. James Worthy, Brian Scott, and even Michael Cooper. So right here, Dave McMenamin, he puts his balls on the table and say, hey, Magic Johnson, you staying a little bit too quiet. Are you co-signing with your Showtime brothers? But jumping forward, Dave McMenamin continues to stand 10 toes down. and lets it be known that LeBron James is not only the Lakers' best playoff player this season, but also even while he was playing with Luka last year. Again, he's not the only Clutch Sports affiliate that has expressed these sentiments. Rich Paul has done it plenty of times also.
And he does
really
organize every part of his life to be able to give his best April 15th through however long it goes.
Right.
I mean, he is a different player in the playoffs in the best way possible. And he was the best player for the Lakers these playoffs. He was the best player for the Lakers last playoffs when Luka was playing as well, if you watch those games.
The drama has begun.
For sure. Even the host feels that energy. He was the best player even when he was playing with Luka. My man McMenamin working overtime for Clutch right now. Everyone's diehard Laker fans and understand that no one's bigger than the program. So on this very same set, there's an additional co-host, and he kind of called out Dave McMenamin as he feels strongly that the Lakers organization are better off moving forward without LeBron. He does not see a vision where the Lakers could compete current day with LeBron James on the roster. And Dave McMenamin right here lets the true feelings around him as well as Clutch Sports, because when he's speaking, he's out there to express their narratives. But he goes 10 toes down about Luka not being more effective versus LeBron in the playoffs.
LeBron is not the future of the Lakers.
I get it, but
he can't be the president? Is he done? Is he out of the league?
This whole LeBron thing just reminds me of Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. He's just holding them back from growing and going to the next level.
Holding them back from what? Like, they would have been out in the first round. So he's holding them back from beating the Rockets?
No, their season ended when Luka got injured.
But it didn't.
It did. They were not, once Luka got hurt, they were not winning the championship.
Well, but with Luka, they lost by 40 to the Thunder.
Damn. Why did he have to throw that out there? That was a regular season game when obviously the co-host is talking about the championship level. Once again, in my previous segments, we've seen Rich Paul allude to multiple times that LeBron James, even at the age of 41, is more impactful as far as the Lakers winning than Luka Dončić.
They lost all the games they played against them in the regular season. So Luka's the magical cure to beat the Thunder?
Again,
they certainly weren't beating him without him.
The analogy,
at least Luka gives you a chance.
The analogy that I think is,
but Luka and no LeBron, all of a sudden you're beating the Thunder?
There's a guy in Milwaukee who's very unhappy.
I don't think he's coming to the Lakers.
They don't have enough to give it to him. They don't have enough on their current roster to give for him, right?
Well, it would have to be a Austin Reeves sign and trade to get the numbers right.
Now, did you fellas get that? Right away, in his mind, it was Austin Reeves that was going to be traded in order to get another star to come to the Lakers, not LeBron leaving the team. Those are the true feelings of the Clutch Sports camp about Austin Reeves still being on this Lakers team. They thought Rob Pelinka would trade him away and get a couple wing players to surround Luka, some guys that are athletic who could defend and shoot. I'm going to replay that one more time. Look how quickly McMenamin goes to, oh yeah, Austin Reeves could get the fuck off the team.
I don't think he's coming to the Lakers.
They don't have enough to give it to him. They don't have enough on their current roster to give for him, right?
Well, it would have to be a Austin Reeves sign and trade to get the numbers right. They'll have draft picks available to trade this summer.
Okay, so there is a path to Giannis.
There's a path. I don't think it's a likely path, but there is a path to it.
I like it. See the likeliness?
It wasn't a likely path for Luka to end up in LA, and it happened.
Well, who the hell knew about that one coming?
Luka and Giannis. That gets you more excited than LeBron James?
It does for him.
Really?
Because Luka's, he
Luka and LeBron, you think is better than Luka and Giannis?
Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves next year, yeah.
Oh, I like Luka and Giannis better.
Yo, that co-host is so shocked on some of the stuff Dave McMenamin is saying. And to some of us, it may sound crazy. Like, how the hell is LeBron James at age 41 believes that he has a better impact on the Lakers winning versus Luka in his prime? It sounds nuts, but they do believe this. Rich Paul and Max Kellerman have gone over this numerous times. It's just been very subtle, sprinkled throughout many episodes of their podcast. But we'll see. There is a lot of double speak within this sit down because Dave McMenamin also alludes that LeBron James might be willing to take a minimum contract if the Lakers have a championship roster. So Rob Pelinka definitely has a tall task ahead of him, but it's more unlikely because if you look at the past 5 to 6 years for the Lakers, he's made more mistakes than actually landing on something good. But we'll see how it plays out. This was a nice confirmation on the sentiments of not only LeBron feeling like he impacts winning on the Lakers more than Luka, but also they're willing to take a pay cut as long as Rob Pelinka presents a championship-worthy roster in front of them, which he did not do last offseason. So every once in a while, I'm always stating that it's great to take you off your daily algorithms and get into some more nuanced topics. As NBA fans this season especially, is really one of the first times they see without a shot of a doubt that some of the national sports media and the narratives that they push is clashing with what is actually taking place on the court, and nothing plays out further than the 2026 NBA Finals, where the Knicks were not ranked to be the favorites even before the Western Conference Finals had ended, knowing that OKC had injuries, and Wemby, especially the way he's been playing throughout the season, there was always a struggle with the Spurs closing out games with him. But again, now we are in the era where instead of the sports entities like ESPN actually covering certain leagues, they're now pushing more personalities where the fame actually overrides the talent. That's what drives the clicks, and that is exactly what they want. Interesting enough, Kevin Durant's agent, Rich Kleiman, has sat down with Steve Stout, one of the big-wig music executive moguls that has worked alongside guys like Jay-Z, and they reassess today's media landscape where fame is pushed over talent, and the bigger a lie is about a narrative, the more revenue it generates. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
What has shifted is fame has got in the way of talent. Fame and talent had a great relationship. Fame is the amplifier of talent. Fame has decided it doesn't need talent anymore. Fame has actually outpaced talent, and the worst part of that is that talent has accepted that truth. So people who are talented will actually do something that will get them famous versus leaning into that talent. And that goes back to this first thing about brand stuff, about like being your brand. Like if you decide, man, I'm gonna have a hot take that's ridiculous as shit, just because I know it's gonna get clicks. What are you doing to your brand? What do you think that does to you? You could be one of the great athletes, but because you want to get your podcast going, you're willing to say the dumbest shit because you know that's gonna get clicks. What the f you think that says about you?
Crazy enough, does that not sound like Pat Bev? But that's one of the things that's starting to hurt ESPN's credibility, especially with them just being so personality driven. And since when has it been the thing to actually stand on a hot take no matter how stupid you sound? It's okay to go back on something, but the fact that everyone's so 10 toes deep, as if sports talk is like politics with all those gray areas, it's just not it.
Fame is a dangerous drug.
And we created the ultimate playground for that drug. There was the reality boom like 25 years ago, and reality TV was like the first kind of reflection of people that were getting famous and called talentless at the same time. Then social media created this entire like vessel for that to happen for anybody and everybody. So now you can chase fame, and the tactics that are needed to become famous are just no longer the tactics that was the only thing that resulted in fame, which was talent.
Yeah.
So when you say talent's accepted it, is it that they'll either compromise their brand or just accept that what their talent is?
Both. Listen, I have a great deal of respect for Stephen A. Smith. I think Stephen A. Smith has done so much shit that is about fame than the fact that he's actually a great journalist. He's clearly cashing out. But his journalism, the thing that he's great at, I believe, is homogenized by the shit that he's doing for fame. That's one example of many examples.
No, but it's a real one because it also has a real impact on what your legacy may be, which if you stop and think about it, maybe the one thing that could keep somebody from chasing that, which is that his legacy may be just as clouded with some of this.
I just know that I've seen that transition from like journalists to like, yo, whatever's going to get the clicks.
And that's the whole business for the media today, especially ESPN. This past offseason, I'm not going to lie, they hopped on the Wemby train a little bit too early, but I understand why they did it. It was the more quote-unquote sexier story to sell. But the finals results, it showed you that they were completely off. For the Knicks to be breaking so many scoring records, and for that to be ignored, and just to say, hey, the Spurs or even OKC, if they make the finals with all those injuries, they would be the favorites. And there has been trickle downs in other areas of the season. The MVP awards, who ranks where, the top 5 guys, Luka, Jaylen Brown, where did they rank at the end of the season? A lot of that was narrative driven. We're slowly entering into the era where even a large conglomerate like ESPN, backed by Disney, is in the same clout chasey ecosystem as a streamer on Twitch or Kick. And because of social media, the bigger the lie, the more money gets made. Especially when all the top media companies are spreading that lie or just saying it at the same time. That's another new thing that's going on right now. It's a clever ass way to hide a stupid take. Just everyone have them at the same time. It doesn't matter if you're on Fox, if you're on ESPN, NBC, ABC, it doesn't matter. Like Vincent Goodwill saying that the NBA trophy is a participation trophy. You see, the same day Vincent Goodwill had made that statement, it didn't matter because there were so many other stupid takes that happened that same day that were completely outlandish. But hey, this is the era that we're in.
Know that I've seen that transition from like journalists to like, yo, whatever's going to get the clicks. And I have a great deal of respect for him, period. But this is what's happening. This is the new game.
And that, I believe that may be what legacy is turning into. It's the story that's told about you. You couldn't get somebody to talk about him right now today without talking about all the other stuff. And that does sustain. It happens to actors and musicians that are some of the greatest in the history of their field. But when you tell their story, it gets coupled with all of the other shit that goes on in their life. I mean,
yeah.
Hey, we could see that exact scenario that Rich Kleiman just spoke about play out with Kendrick Lamar and Drake. It's like nowadays you can't mention one person without the other, even though both artists already had established themselves and their legacies without the other one's name being attached. It's crazy how powerful some of these algorithms are, and you're seeing why guys like LeBron James have a whole media entity underneath them. The Mind the Game podcast with Rich Paul and Max Kellerman. Always make sure to come to his defense. LeBron also has his media plans. Guys like Dave McMenamin, Nick Wright, Brian Windhorst, etc. A king today must defend his castle for sure. And with that said, we're also seeing a manufacturing of certain moments that come across as very inorganic, like the LeBron father and son duo with Bronny James. Just check out former FS1 anchor Rick Buford break down how manufactured the Bronny James storyline is. And really, this is LeBron and his team trying to go on the offensive end on social media. This is why this media landscape is a nice, delicate balance these guys got to play. Of course, they got to defend their legacies or certain narratives, but also when they try to go on the offense, they can't go in too deep or else it looks too manufactured to the audience.
As for LeBron playing with Bronny in the overtime win and the plays that they made, LeBron spoke about it himself, tagging various moments as the craziest or most special of his career, throwing Bronny a lob and setting a screen for him to knock down a three as 2 of them. And it is indeed wild to think about a father and son playing together in a playoff game, in an NBA playoff game, and making plays. That LeBron would relish the experience and savor it makes perfect sense. I know I would. What I don't quite get, given the circumstances, is why it would be a monstrously big deal to anyone else. Now, I'm sure LeBron stans will be quick to point out that what LeBron and Bronny did was historic. Technically, they are right again. But let's not kid ourselves on how that history was made. the two of them playing together in a playoff game has no more significance than the first game of the 2024-25 season when LeBron and Bronny took the court in the second quarter of their season opener at home against the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's when they became the first father-son duo to play in an NBA regular season game, which was significant, just not in the way some would like to suggest or have presented it. They weren't the first father-son combo to play in the NBA because the James family produced a pair of legit NBA players. The significance is that LeBron is the first star with A, the incredible longevity to still be a valuable player as he turned 40.
Also, B, LeBron James is one of the first NBA stars to actually leverage him being the face of the league in ways that his predecessors never really thought to do. Guys like Magic Johnson and Michael Jordan, to get their sons into the league when everyone knows deep down inside they're not really necessarily worthy. Also, let me say this about the way LeBron James has flexed his power and positioned the Lakers franchise during his tenure in LA. I gotta say, for the first time, a legacy franchise like the Lakers are seeing how it feels when they're not necessarily in the power position of the relationship. LeBron James, of course, is not bigger than the Lakers logo, but the position the Buss family was in with their team not being relevant since their father had passed away, and LeBron helping them gain not only the relevance, but making money. That's why a lot of people behind the scenes for the Lakers haven't made as much noise about LeBron, because he did allow them to be in a great position in order to sell that team for $10 billion. But the way he has built up a media empire while being down there is crazy. Partnering up with TNT Sports, also other major production powerhouses out in London. He's got Forbes marketing his net worth, which is much higher than each member of the Buss family if you look them up individually, including Genie. So as NBA fans, we've never seen this before, where a player on the team has a higher individual net worth than one of the owners that is in full control. Again, Jeannie Buss, who is savvy herself with the media, has never been put in this position, and seeing the forest through the trees, that article by Baxter Holmes kind of exposed her true feelings about LeBron James' relationship with the media.
B, that his star power was still bright enough to convince the Lakers to keep him happy by drafting his son. And C, that he had no problem wielding his influence to get Bronny on the roster with him. The significance is that we've never seen anyone willing to and able to exercise all three of those components. Bronny is not on the roster for any reason other than he is LeBron James' son. He is there thanks to the power that his father wields. That's a testament to LeBron's massive power, make no mistake about it. It's also a testament to his willingness to use that power to satisfy his own interests. I don't have a problem with that. If the Lakers don't have a problem with it, why would I? Just don't ask me to celebrate him and Bronny playing together as some sort of natural achievement, like Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr. playing together in Major League Baseball. Both Griffeys made it to the bigs independently, Jr. proving to be a better player than his dad. When they played together at the end of Ken Sr.'s career, it was more of a gift to him than Jr. This is not that. Someone had the audacity to suggest LeBron hitting a game-tying three to force overtime and throwing a lob to his son outdid Michael Jordan's 6 championships. In LeBron's mind, perhaps. For anyone else, it is far too artificial of a construct to hold any meaning. He's inherited his dad's athleticism, if not his size, and he's had access to the most elite trainers, coaches, and facilities in the world since he first picked up a ball. But did he earn the incredibly rare opportunity to be drafted by an NBA team or get minutes his very first game as a rookie or be on the floor last week against the Rockets? LeBron and Bronny fans tried to suggest that Bronny outscoring the entire Rockets bench in the overtime win was proof that those who doubted his NBA stock were wrong. Come on. Bronny scored 5 points. So did Jared Vanderbilt off the bench. Jackson Hayes had 12 points off the bench. The Rockets subs, meanwhile, took a grand total of 11 shots. This was a game where head coach Ime Udoka decided to stay primarily with his starters, every one of them playing 43 minutes or more. The hollowness of the James father-son performance in the Game 3 overtime win was also exposed in their Game 4 blowout loss. Those heralding the father-son lob and LeBron game-tying 3 in Game 3 were oddly quiet when LeBron turned the ball over 3 times in a 90-second span, or when he gacked a 2-foot layup. Bronny grabbed the rebound only to fumble the ball out of bounds.
And the same thing happened with the media pundits that told the NBA fan bases that the Knicks would not be the favorites, whether an injured riddled Oklahoma City Thunder team made the finals or the San Antonio Spurs with the young Victor Wembanyama, who doesn't necessarily even perform for them in closing minutes. Once the finals had ended and the Spurs did not even win one home game, the very same pundits were quiet. Once again, we're in an era where they're going to sell the fan bases a story that's going to generate clicks instead of the truth. This might work in the political world, but in sports, because there's wins and losses involved, it's a little bit more black and white.
All of that now is perfectly understandable for a 41-year-old LeBron trying to fill the massive hole left by Reeves and Doncic, or Bronny appearing in a playoff game after making 42 appearances in the regular season, averaging less than 9 minutes and 2.9 points. All of this is just so unusual to see that for anyone to suggest that LeBron and Bronny have followed a normal path to playing together for the Lakers is just ignoring or is unaware of the history of the NBA and just how difficult it has been or is for players to actually get on the floor, no matter who they are. I am in no way saying what they did in Game 4 should be criticized, but there is also no reason to make a big deal out of what transpired in Game 3, at least not for anyone outside of the James family.
Well said, but it's all about the storylines nowadays. That Bronny James saga has been a great revenue generator for the Lakers. His jersey sales, man, they're up there. But it is what it is. A lot of the NBA fans are moving into an era where you're going to have to cross-reference a lot of the information that's coming from the NBA on-air television personalities. With all the companies that are just consolidating within that media business, the very few on-air television time has to have some sort of hot take debate that can go viral. And it's slowly ushering us into the era where the narrative is bigger than the actual results on the court. So as we all know, the story of the Golden State Warriors, especially in the mid-2010s, is going to be interesting when it's all said and done. But in the meantime, while we're in this new NBA media landscape, we get to hear from the players directly, as Andre Iguodala will fully explain of why they shouldn't have been viewed as a super team. And we're going to get into it, as later on in the segment, we'll also hear from Draymond Green as well as Kevin Durant about how the franchise really hasn't had a history of winning. Just like the New England Patriots right before Tom Brady had gotten there, Stephen Curry serves as the same medium, bringing the Warriors to prominence. But due to the fact that Kevin Durant joining that team kind of blocked LeBron James from winning multiple titles during his Cavaliers run, that really has caused a lot of the people in the media to overinflate the dominance of the Warriors right before Kevin Durant had arrived. Now keep in mind, for as much credit as the Warriors get for going 73-9, it should be noted that they had the worst finals meltdown in NBA history. So there's definitely a lot more nuance to the story than what gets talked about on the surface level, especially with the Warriors losing a lot of the guys off their bench. Andrew Bogut, Harrison Barnes was pretty much replaced by KD in his mid-range shooting. But that Warriors team in 2017 had nowhere near the bench that they had in 2016. That does not get talked about enough. But Andre Iguodala has spoke on the matter, especially with the NBA's overreaction to the second April rules that we see today really comes from the perception of the Warriors being a dynasty team, just having to pay all those guys, when in reality, they drafted most of their players and went after only one free agent. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
So you guys have been part of dynasties. And I kind of think about the second apron as far as like, would y'all dynasty exists if we were in the second apron era? Because some of those guys would have got more money other places, or just you couldn't re-sign Iggy because we already got Steph Curry, we already got Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. So how do y'all see that? Because right now we're in the parity era, right?
Well, that was the proposal of the second apron in itself.
Right. So to try to eliminate the
and first. And the first. I mean, we do our research too. You know, if you go back historically, 75 plus years of the NBA, how many teams would be in that second apron if you put that magical second apron there? Because you can apply it to any salary cap. But at the same time, you know, I think the league did a good job of protecting the owners from themselves, right? And so we talk about, and you know, we always had that argument: who's better at evaluating talent? Is it a former player? Is it a basketball junkie? Or is it a computer guy who's called a basketball, analyst, you know, analytics, the analytics piece. And so it's an interesting conversation. With the Warriors team, no one realizes it was just like lightning struck twice in the same place. And I could go like down the line and Steph's ankle was the first piece of it. Klay should have never been drafted that late in the draft. But, you know, you had a racist cop in Washington State drop his draft status. Nobody was like, nobody would break down that piece. And then Draymond Green, the same thing. You got a winner, and that doesn't show up on any analytics, the value of that. And so he drops to where he drops.
And also Jerry West having the vision of making sure that the Golden State Warriors do not trade Klay Thompson, especially in his earlier days. That's another thing that kind of struck like lightning out of a bottle.
And so then you have an opportunity. I come in, I just want to have fun playing basketball because I've been miserable playing basketball for quite some time. And I take less money, go there. But none of us knew we were going to win a championship. And then before you know it, like Steph, his ankles they get to where they're supposed to be, and then he just goes on this crazy run. Because I mean, you remember early in this run, people were like, there's no way that this light-skinned dude this cold. I got to see this for myself. Like, it took people like 3 or 4 years to believe it. Yep. And before you know it, the dynasty's built. But his knee injury, like, you know, the Bay and our team, like, we know how important he was to our team. You know, like, Klay knows how important he was to our team. Yeah. You know, and it was just like a perfect storm. And they drafted well, you know, Harrison Barnes. And then Harrison Barnes turning into Kevin Durant. You know, they made it, you know, they're getting killed right now, but they made a lot of smart moves. We had a lot of good folks around. David Kelly was there, you know, Bob Myers. It was just lightning struck in the bottle a few times.
And that stroke of luck happened more than just a few times. Because of the high-profile nature or just Kevin Durant joining their team, the Warriors actually going after only one free agent. A large part of the NBA media that's more towards LeBron's side, they were trying to hop on his coattails of being known as one of the best to ever do it. And that KD acquisition from the Warriors blocked that. Let's not get it confused. In 2015, no one had the Warriors as title favorites. Same thing in 2016, the Cavaliers were still ranked as the favorites going into the finals. But just like the New England Patriots and all the success they had with Tom Brady, no one ever remembers that they were a losing franchise due to all the recent championships. And the same thing would be applied for the Golden State Warriors. But they are a losing franchise overall. That was the perception of them throughout the league, not only from fans as well as players. But check out Draymond Green right here, frustrated with some of the Warriors fan base who thought they should have traded him for Giannis. And he reminds them of what the franchise was before he had arrived.
I see fans saying different shit now. Like, you know, I'll see Warriors fans like, yo, it's time to get him out of here.
That's crazy.
And to the real Warriors fans that don't feel that way, thank you. I appreciate it. To the ones that do feel that way, like, you was a loser before I got here. Like fucking like stone cold forever losers.
Yeah, right.
So if you say that, it makes sense to me. You never been here. Right? So you don't know how to appreciate something for its entirety.
Wow, that's a really heavy statement. The Warriors have never experienced a dynasty or quote unquote dynasty like this. A lot of the fan base does not understand that there is a of course, coming down to earth moment within that whole time span. But we all got to take a step back and just examine this, because the Warriors dynasty is attached to LeBron's greatness, especially coming back down from 3-1. See, the NBA media needs that narrative as if the Warriors was some sort of crazy dynasty before LeBron James had to overcome them. The 2016 NBA Finals will be forever known as LeBron's peak moment. So in order to fill that storyline, they kind of prep up the Golden State Warriors as if they were at the peak of their powers, but they weren't. The truth is, the Warriors were absolutely in their primes. I would say in 2018, 2019, right before KD had went down with his injury, and also in 2022. In the first two finals LeBron had with the Warriors, they were still on the rise.
Because you never been here. You never had the opportunity to do that. So, great, I'll be the test run, right? Like, this, hopefully, I love this organization. I was telling somebody the other day, I'm lucky that, like, Michigan State's my alma mater. The Golden State Warriors is like my alma mater. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I've been blessed in that way. And so I'll always root and want this organization to do well. And I've also gone through my career with that in mind. Mm-hmm. A lot of people say, oh man, why is Draymond still here? Draymond has given up a lot of money in staying here over the course of my 14 years because I love this place, right? So I've always done right by our organization.
Sure. Yeah,
they've always done right by me, you know, and I know people struggle to understand that, right? Like they're like, oh man, y'all not sick of him. No, I've always done right by them. Like I've always given everything I have from a basketball standpoint, from, bro, I've sat in draft meetings and free agent pitches and free agency meetings on calls at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning trying to help recruit a guy, trying to help with strategy. I've done all of that.
That's the shit that they don't see.
And so they'll never understand and appreciate that. And that's okay. So then it's just basketball, right? Cool if you don't appreciate it, except there's not much you can really say to me. And when you say, oh man, it's time for him to go, it's not really up to you because unfortunately, you know, people don't like to admit it, they hate it. But unfortunately, I was a very key piece, a very key part of building this thing to what it became. And I appreciate the organization for what they've done. I have zero entitlement when it comes to me and the Golden State Warriors. They say I was almost traded for Giannis throughout this trade deadline. But I had gratitude. I don't have, like, they don't owe me anything.
And Draymond Green was a big piece into pitching Kevin Durant to come to the Warriors even the season before he got there. And just re-examining this Warriors run in the very beginning, I would say 2015 and 2016, they really had no success prior. Like, this is almost the same kind of organization as the Cavaliers. Sometimes the structure gets overlooked. We've seen Rich Paul make reference to this with Pat Riley in Miami. Once him and LeBron James got down there, they quickly realized there was a championship infrastructure set up in order for guys to be successful. And Cleveland was missing it, and they said the same thing about the Lakers when they arrived in the building. The Warriors had to go out and get Jerry West from the Lakers of what this team could be. Kevin Durant right here mentions his initial decision going to the Warriors, especially with them not having any history of success the prior 50 years. They just had the 2015 championship with Klay, Steph, and Draymond, and pretty much the 2016 finals meltdown. So just putting ourselves in his shoes, as a top player in the league, he was willing to leave his franchise, who for the most part, the GMs and everyone, they show that they could build a competitive team. So he weighed those options versus going to the Warriors. Kevin Durant right here lets us know at that very moment, he still viewed the Warriors as an underdog franchise. That was their reputation among player circles. Just think about it. Who was the last top-notch free agent that ever went over there before Kevin Durant?
I need to experience that again. And I want to be on that stage again. And that run that we went, in 2012, from that first round to the finals, that was the most fun I had playing basketball. And I was like, I need this experience again. I don't care who is with. I want some dudes that want it too. I just need to experience that again because I felt more alive. You know what I'm saying? I felt like this is what I should be doing on earth at this point. It's playing the game. You know what I'm saying? So when I experienced that run, I'm like, I'm craving for that again. If you ain't with me, then that's on you. But I want this experience again. So I didn't have no relationship with nobody on the Warriors. We weren't like friends, like people like you hooked up with your friends. Like I never hung out with Draymond. Like that wasn't my boy.
Right.
Steph, we never hung out. Or Clay. I met them once I got there.
Right.
But it wasn't like, let me call my boys up and let me go hang out with my boys. Nah, I seen that's a great team that wants to win, a fun environment, great city. Oakland is like DC.
Yeah.
It felt like I was riding through Southeast when I was
Absolutely.
in. The fan base, the organization, never been a winning organization. When I was in the league, nobody liked Golden State. So it was like, it felt like still like an underdog to me because I'm looking at it as, I'm looking at the totality of the franchise. I ain't looking at what happened in this last 5 years.
Right.
You notice right there, he mentioned nobody liked Golden State. He's talking about among the player circles.
Like you never been a perennial winner in the, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
In the NBA from the 50s on up. So I'm like, damn, this is an underdog franchise to me. This feel good. Like shit, this feel like where I'm supposed to be. It ain't LA, it ain't New York. It feel like where I'm supposed to be. And I think they're gonna give me that experience that I want.
Right.
That run of like shit, we about to go and try to win 16 games. You know, I wanted that feeling again. We did that shit 3 times.
Yeah.
I was on that high 3 times. I'm like, man, shit, I don't want to go nowhere else. Why would I?
Absolutely.
I don't want to do nothing else in the NBA besides going to run like that.
Yeah.
We might not win it, but to know that we can go on a run to like, you know what I'm saying, be one of the last teams, that shit is fun.
So there you have it. Just like the New England Patriots before Tom Brady had arrived, the Golden State Warriors before Steph, they were a losing franchise. And right now within the media, these are strange times because that Warriors run with Stephen Curry, it is attached to the LeBron legacy, especially the beginning days of that run. It's going to get overhyped in order to justify LeBron James's GOATness because that 2016 is the peak moment for LeBron James in the NBA Finals. There's definitely more nuance to this story, and we're going to see more of it unfold as time goes on. So former Laker and NBA champion Anthony Davis had did a sit down with Draymond Green where quite a few things were revealed. First off, the inner workings of the New Orleans Pelicans and what exactly are they really about? We know it's not winning. Secondly, how was it like winning the championship in the bubble with no parade? Also, how did it feel to be in Dallas right after the Luka trade and ending up in NBA purgatory down there in Washington? But for AD, these are interesting times because with the way the NBA is currently structured, superstar players like him that are not available, he's in a pool with Trae Young and Ja Morant. Their trade value throughout the rest of the league is going to take a hit, especially if they're on max deals. The era of the convenient max is pretty much over. But for AD, before he had left LA, he was making a lot of rumblings about not wanting to play center. Just check out this sit down with Shams. This is literally right before he got traded. And this serves as a nice backdrop before we get to the main part of the segment.
What more can be done with this roster? Are you satisfied with the roster? Do you feel like you guys need some more here?
I think we need another big. I feel like I've always been at my best when I've been the 4. And having the big out there, we know it worked when we won the championship with JaVale and Dwight. I'm at the 5 and I'm at the 4.
With that said, as you can see, there was already sort of a clash with him and Rob Pelinka. And in my previous segment, I'll link it in the description below, we seen AD reveal that he didn't fully trust him. And also, as a player who won a championship with the organization, he wasn't necessarily treated in a way that he should have been. Rob Pelinka has a lot of work to do in that trust category because AD's in a long list of players who have second thoughts about anything Pelinka is involved in. These are definitely interesting times in Lakerland. But the former NBA champion revealed a lot of different dynamics that played out in his time in the league. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
That was the whole reason. That was the whole goal, leaving New Orleans. I wanted to compete for championships. leave New Orleans, get to LA, and by far the best team that I've been on, since then, at that time. And as we're playing, to start the season, we kicking ass. We like number 1 in the West. And then COVID happens and we stop. Go to the bubble. We don't know what to expect, right? I don't know what's going to happen, how the game's going to go, because we had way more games left than what we actually played in the bubble. But they kind of just, cut it down. So we were playing and, go through the whole run and, we win. And at that moment, I feel like I've accomplished everything, right? I accomplished. Why did I come to LA? To win a championship. My first year, I get it done, right? I'm in a corner, sitting on a little bench thing, wherever the thing is in front of the bench. I'm crying. And I'm just sitting there just soaking it all in, like, damn, this shit really happened. Like, I'm really an NBA champion. You get the confetti and you got the champagne in the locker room. Like, my dad's back there. He enjoyed, like, it's a great time. My family's there, my wife's there, my daughter. Like, it's beautiful. You go back home, I go back to LA, I got the trophy with me. I'm like, yeah, but we knew that we wasn't having a parade, right? And that's the one thing that I missed the most. Like, we couldn't get the full experience of winning a championship when you get the parade, the fans come out, you on the stage and you get to say a speech, like you're drunk, you're having fun, like whatever it is.
It's funny. Alex Caruso kind of said the same thing when he won a championship with the Oklahoma City Thunder.
And to this day, I think about that, right? Like, man, did I really win a championship? And you hear the noise, which to me is probably the hardest championship to ever accomplish. But for me, I also feel like I know I'm a champion, but I want the real experience.
Now, the one thing I would say right here about that bubble championship, of course it's legitimate, but we really never seen AD since playing a full 82 game season and being healthy throughout the whole playoffs. Even that bubble, just having 3 to 4 months off, he was not healthy, especially in the NBA Finals after Game 3. He was up and down. So there's really no proof that AD could last a whole 82 game season and deep into a June playoff run.
Right. So which is why it's like, I want to compete so bad. I want to compete for a championship so bad because I want to go on the road. I want to go into, now I'm Eastern Conference, now Western Conference team, arena and got to win on the road. I want that. I remember the playoff times in New Orleans and after COVID, the playoff environments in LA where, we played y'all in New Orleans and it's all red in there and the crowd is loud, they cheering for you and everything like that. So like, I want that. And I've never had a chance to experience that in a final situation, right? And for me, it's like, damn, did I win? Did I not win? Like, I know I'm listed as a champion, but it's like, I'm not sure. So it motivates me more now to like, you know what? I gotta have that opportunity again. Win, lose, or draw, like to be in that experience, in that environment again, like that's the thing I want most, before it's all said and done. So it was a great experience. I got the replica trophy, I got the ring, like I got the pictures, I got the jersey I had, like the goggles, everything. I'm still a champion for sure, but to be able to do it in, the old fashioned way is something that I definitely miss and think about a lot. If your team won that championship, you will have a different perspective. You will, oh man, I'm a champion. Oh yeah, my guys won. So to me, Absolutely. It's like, yeah. And if you think about it, we were the best team in the league at the time.
That's a fact.
Like, we were the number one team in the league. So it's like, y'all saying something where it's like, oh, we were the 7th seed and we go in and then we ultimately won. Like, we were the number one team in the NBA at the time as well.
Now, it's interesting he said that they were the number one team because in reality, one of the darling favorites was the Los Angeles Clippers with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Very low key, they had some great momentum heading into the later part of the season right before that pandemic hit and the season stopped. the family situation that took place with Montrezl Harrell seemed to kind of derail the vibes of that team.
When the league stopped, and everybody had us winning a championship. So, you know, you can't say, well, oh, the Lakers, oh, it's not real, or, you know, it was the bubble championship. They didn't have, like, yeah, you think we come from playing in front of fans our entire lives, and then all of a sudden this crowd noise that's implemented in through speakers. You know, you got the fans on big ass screens around the arena. You know, our family's not there. Then you got some fans that's all the way at the top that's limited. Like, they got court-side seats, but they 6 feet apart in this chair. Like, it's all different. You know what I'm saying? So, like, everything is different. You know, outside of the games itself. You know, you're now in a hotel room that's way smaller than what you'll probably get on the road. You know, when you're in the league. The food is okay. You know what I'm saying? It's not great. It's nowhere to go. They're trying to create things for you to do. Your family's not there, you know. So it's like, we're also, like you said, choose your heart. Like, we went through a lot of things too.
Yeah, I'm sure of it. That was the tricky thing about the bubble. In order for your team to win it, a lot of the players on the team couldn't have too much outside noise, and it seems like that's what affected some of the main teams, like the Clippers. There was just too much going on with player personnel and their family members. It was so bad for some people that they had family members passing away, but yet they were kind of quarantined inside a bubble. Some of them even being away from their wives and children.
You know what I'm saying? But like you said, at the end of the day, we had to line them up just like everybody else and lace our shoes up and go to war. And I feel like when people say this shit, is like, yeah, but if your team won or your favorite player won, it would be different. Like, no, y'all be saying everything that we're saying.
The bubble situation was truly not ideal, but moving forward, AD right here gives great insight into what the Pelicans organization is truly about, as he did play the villain role, but that's all after numerous times he tried to ask the franchise to position themselves to win.
Yeah, man, and when I'm done, man, I'm gonna really tell, like, the truth about everything, man. But it was crazy. Like, that was my first time ever essentially being a villain in anything, right? Because remember, I came on the scene late, you know, junior year of high school. Like, so everybody was like, we don't really know this guy, whatever. You know, through college, you know, I won. It was like, oh, AD, everybody loved him. You know, go to the Olympic team, like the best teammate, best rookie, and I'm having a great time in New Orleans. Is, oh, this kid, you know. So that was the first time, like, where in my life I was like, yo, he's a villain, and people really don't like him. But at the time, like, with the agency I was with, I didn't feel like I was getting the things that I deserved, right? And for exactly, like, at that point in my career, what I was doing. And I was like, it's time to make a switch. And I ended up, you know, meeting with a couple agencies. And by the way, I knew Rich way before. I knew Rich, you know, way before I even, you know, signed with him with Clutch. And 2018 is when I signed with them and, you know, fired my other agency. And I think the trajectory of my career on and off the floor, like, just skyrocketed.
No need to explain, AD. We already knew the fix was in as soon as it was stated that you signed to Clutch Sports. That flight might as well already have been booked to LA at that moment.
You know, but it was tough because we, you know, went in is like, you know, I want to win, you know, and I think the turning point was when I didn't make an all-star starter, when I definitely should have. And it was because the team, you know, was losing. It was bad. And it was like, nah, I can't do this anymore. Like, I want to win at that point, because, you know, when you first come in the league, it's like, hey, look, I'm getting my money. I just want to get bread. I just want to get paid, you know. And then at some point it switches, like, oh, I'm trying to win. And by that time it was year 7. I'm like, I want to win. I've been to the playoffs twice, you know, and had to run into this super team. Man, I ain't gonna lie, I thought we could have beat y'all in 17 when we had DeMarcus, before DeMarcus got hurt. I'm like, we had DeMarcus, bro. I just feel like,
woo, that does not get talked about enough. Out of all the teams that could have gave the Warriors issues in the NBA, That 2017 Pelicans team with AD and Cousins would have gave the Warriors nightmares. I mean, shit, they even had Drew Holiday out there in the perimeter with Rondo.
You would have gave them a fucking run for their money. But, you
we
know.
would have loved to see that. We would have beat y'all 4-1, but it would have been fun.
Y'all did beat us 4-1 already. It would have been we ended up getting one in New Orleans.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, we ended up getting one in New Orleans. Yeah. I just feel like at that time I wanted to win. And, you know, I've been to the playoffs twice in New Orleans. And I was like, go to the arena and I see the crowd. I'm like, man, this is what it's about. And at that time, I don't think we were just in a line. We weren't, you know, in the same ballpark when it came to like trying to win. And that's all I ever wanted to do. Like, whatever y'all need me to do, like, let's do it. And we tried to get it done, you know, without it being any noise. Like, look, I want out. And, you know, at the time, the GM was Dale Demps, and we were having discussions, and it just wasn't getting done. And so then, you know, Rich being Rich, like, okay, well, now we got to be loud about it. Mm-hmm. And that's when I end up doing a media interview after practice and told him, like, I want to be traded. And, you know, then it kind of just blew up from there. And then I think that was around All-Star. And after I said that, maybe like a week later, I think Dale gets fired. I'm like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, but by this time I was already the villain, but now I'm the problem. The GM gets fired a week later after I asked for a trade, but I'm the problem.
Now, interesting enough, they brought in David Griffin, the same general manager for when LeBron had made his return to Cleveland. Again, it wouldn't shock me if that was a hire made by the NBA in order to make that AD situation go away for that wink Zion pick.
Right? Mm-hmm. So then come back and they said they wasn't going to trade me. Or they couldn't find a deal or whatever. And I go back and look, I'm still like, look, at the time, I'm like, I'm still a Pelican, so I'm not. Like, I'm going to still come in, be a professional. I'm going to work. We played Minnesota right after the break. And I had like 35, you know, going into the fourth. And I got benched in the fourth quarter. And you, like, the fans was obviously booing me when I first came out. And then they like, put him in the game. We trying to win. And I got benched. And that's when they brought in Danny Ferry. And we had a conversation like, you know, we're going to play you, you know, after that game. Like, we're going to play you like 15 to 20 minutes a game. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. Because now, and you know, as a basketball player, somebody tell you playing 15 minutes, bro, you're bound to get hurt.
You're bound to get hurt because you're going to bullshit. And you spending 7 of those 15 minutes getting loose.
Exactly. So I'm like, I can't do that, you know?
And it goes to show you how disconnected the analytical kind of driven front offices are from just the overall team dynamic. You see, now with a lot of the tanking also, it's affecting the rookies coming in. They're getting too used to losing, and it's even having an effect long term with them just getting placements on competitive teams. You could even flip the coin further by saying veterans get sent over there in order for their careers to die. Just imagine, like, you're a veteran, maybe you're the 7th guy coming off the bench, then they send you to New Orleans. Your career is pretty much done. Who wants a vet being the 2nd or 3rd rotational player freshly coming off a losing team? You fellas could go ahead and do your research and just see the list of names that have seen their last stop in the NBA this way. So in a way, you could say some of these franchises have become graveyards for a lot of vets.
And he came and, you know, talked to, you know, Drew as well, and hit all the young guys, and, you know, told them they were going to play them. And so ended up finishing the rest of the season, ended up getting traded in the summertime. But at that point, Rich had to come out and say some stuff too, and we ended up getting fined. And it's like, that's the toughest part about the business, is that and we speak on this all the time, when a team is tired of a player, they can trade him with no consequence, right? But once a player's like, I want to do what's best for me, and because I want to compete for championships and win, it's not even about the money. Like, New Orleans offered me a crazy deal at the time. Like, it's not even about the money. Like, I genuinely want to win. And so now, because I want to win, I'm considered a villain to this team and to this fan base, you know? Yeah. And to this day, I go back and they still boo me, right? And it's like...
And that's why they still losing. You don't boo the best player in your franchise history, you appreciate him.
I'm gonna tell you what got me, though, Dre. I'm going to tell you what got me, though. And you say that, best player in franchise history, like points, rebounds, block, like all this. You know what's crazy? When I went back, I did not get a tribute. And that was that was the final straw for me.
Get the fuck out of here.
Damn, that's horrible. I'm not going to lie, that is horrible. But what do you expect from an organization that doesn't even invest in their medical staffs, their locker rooms, even towards team building and development? None of us are even surprised about Zion Williams and the way his career is panning out so far.
Never got a tribute. I didn't get a tribute going back to ball.
What?
No. Which pissed me off while the first game back, I think I had like 42 or 44 or 43, something like that. I was fucking hot.
No tribute?
Hot. No tribute. I got no tribute.
That's not true. Somebody, hey, internet folks out there.
Somebody
folks, pulled a video of AD's first game back in New Orleans. There's no way you didn't get a tribute.
Never.
What's even crazier is that franchise is so irrelevant that people didn't even notice.
Never got a tribute. Never got a tribute. Nope. Didn't get a tribute. And that, so like, you know how it always goes, like, you know, oh, you get drafted to a team and then when you're done, it's like, damn, towards the end of the career, I might want to go back and shit. Like, I've always had that mindset. Like, and I told Miss Benson when I was going to her, right before the deadline to ask for a trade, I told her, look, Miss B, I want to get out of here. You know, these are the reasons, whatever. Miss B was cool. Like, me and Miss B still cool to this day. And I told her, and I was like, this might not be the end, though. Like, you know, later on in my career, who knows if I was to come back and we try to do something special as I'm older and a little mature, the game develop, you know, win a couple of championships, come like whatever. I don't know. You know, I left that door open. And when I went back that first game and got no trip, I said, oh, that door is closed. I can't. That door is closed. It's no way possible. There's no way possible, bro. And it's like, you know, that last 3 months, 2 months of the season, like, it was rough. Like,
maybe the Pelicans owner thought, hey, she gonna be gone by the time that team's ever in a place to win a championship.
You know, obviously I wore the shirt and that's all that shit. Like, I wore the shirt and all. Like, I get it. You know, they had a storm. You know, I saw this video where they had a hurricane and everybody cleared out the grocery store and it was just like my ruffles was still in there. The only ones in there. It's like, I seen all that, you know, but it's like, none of that bothered me. It's like, whatever. I understand. Like, it was a bad breakup. Like, I get it. You know, you're going to feel away. The fans, like, I get it, whatever. Like, your best player is leaving. Like, nobody wants that, you know? But at the time when I was there too, it was, we can't never get AD help. We're like, who is these guys we're signing? So it's like, you can't have it your cake and eat it too. You can't say like, we not giving him help, but then when he decides to leave, you're mad because he's leaving because he wants to go to a win. And I always thought I was gonna go back. And when I walked in the arena, and it's the emotion, you know, man, it's the emotion. Like, you haven't experienced it obviously, but like, it's emotional as fuck. Like, going back, I was just here 7 years and I come out and it's boo. I'm talking about like loud, all boos. And so I'm sitting on the bench and I'm sitting there and they calling everybody. And I look up, Anthony Davis, and I'm like, oh shit, ain't nothing on the screen. Go out and I said, oh yeah, okay, watch this. And I was so pissed. Dre. Like, not one, it wasn't even a graphic that said thank you. It was nothing. It was nothing, bro.
Damn. AD is hurt. Damn, I feel for him though. That's what makes this media landscape very interesting now. The players can actually voice these things and further craft the characteristics of each of these organizations. Some of these owners, they're used to pre-internet days bullshit, and they don't realize the power of some of these narratives before it's too late. It's so bad with the Pelicans, I'm surprised they don't have a Glassdoor reviews that's gone viral on Reddit or some shit.
Yeah, that's fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
And you were what, 5-time All-Starter?
Yeah.
They may not. New Orleans may not have 5 All-Star appearances combined around you. I mean, CP was there, but you get my point.
Yeah, no, for
like,
sure.
Come on, man. They don't. My point is, there's been some dogs there. Not to discredit
Yeah,
CP
for sure,
and
for
D
sure.
West and
Yeah,
Zion.
yeah.
But you get my point.
Yeah.
That's a bad organization, though. That organization does not have the history to not celebrate a five-time
Yeah, it was
All-Star.
bad,
Like,
bro. It was bad. Like
you don't just get
playoff
five-time
twice. You know, first round get swept by y'all. Second time we go second round. You know, get a win, and it was like, I don't know, that hurt the most. That hurt the most. It was like, yeah, y'all not even like y'all taking these last 2 months and making it seem like this was the entire 7 years. And then you had some of the announcers and, you know, reporters, all this stuff saying this stuff like, oh, well, they rolled out the red carpet for AD. And they did not. No, they did not.
What they do?
No, they did not. They didn't do anything. Like, they tried to offer me the max contract, but at that point, I was like, man, it's not about the money. I'm trying to win. You know?
Don't get max wherever you go.
Yeah. And so it was like, you know, they brought David Griffin in after, and me and him had a conversation that didn't last very, you know, long. And I told him what I wanted, you know, and he said he couldn't do it.
Now hold up, let's re-examine this, because AD is asking them to make moves in order to win. He didn't necessarily want to leave. Paul George had alluded to this with the Indiana Pacers. He asked them to make a trade for AD, having all his ducks lined up, but the Pacers let him know that they're the type of franchise that's just happy to be competitive. Matter of fact, I'll link that segment in the description below. But some of these legacy owners, especially with all this tech money coming in and private equity, they're going to have to get the fuck out the way at some point.
So I was like, all right, it's it, you know. And at that time, like for me, like you say, Zion's a fucking phenomenal player. Like when he's on the floor, bro, he's unbelievable. But I know what we just lost, right? We had Rondo and DeMarcus, right? Rondo goes to LA, Bug come to y'all, and we get Julius and Elfrid Payton, right? And I go, and Julius wasn't even like Julius at the time.
He wasn't this Julius.
He wasn't this Julius. He was still getting there. And I was like, look, I know how Drew operates with the point guard next to him. We just seen it, you know, with Rondo. Like Drew basically beat Portland, but he shut down Dame and CJ, right? And I was like, I tell David Griffin, I said, listen, if you can get Ja Morant at 1, then we got a real conversation going on, because I know how it's going to help our team with Drew, right? If Drew got to handle the ball, like Drew, so he loves to get people involved, but like Drew, we go score. We got somebody else who can do that now, who can play make. When we give you the ball, we need you to go beat Drew.
Now, AD, you're under the assumption that the Pelicans have people in the building who could actually team build and perhaps compete on a higher level, which really triggers AKA ownership. You got to spend more money on the team. And that right there, I don't believe the Pelicans are in the business of that.
And that's when he's at his best, you know. And he was like, he can't. He got to take Zion. And I just didn't see at the time where like me and Zion will work. Like we were playing the same position. Like at this time, I was only playing the 4. I was never the 5.
Yeah.
I never played the 5. And so it was like, well, is Zion gonna play the 3? You know, but at the time we had Solomon Hill, Dante Cunningham. So it's like, then you got Drew at the 2, and we just brought in Julius. So like, well, are you gonna bench Julius? Like who's getting benched? Right? You're not gonna bench your number 1 pick. So at the time, I just
unless you got 35 going into the 4th, but that's a whole nother conversation.
That's it. Unless you got 35 going into the 4th, like we got to bench him. So that's still crazy. And so I was like, I just didn't see how to fit at the time, and you know, ultimately it worked out like for me, you know, win the championship. But I was like, you know, I wanted to always be the guy that sticks with the franchise for his entire career. Like, I don't want to, like, this last year being alive, this shit is crazy. Like, it's the crazy, and I know we'll get into it or whatever, but it's like I always thought I was going to finish in New Orleans, right? Start in New Orleans, finish in New Orleans, and never go anywhere. And when we just didn't align on our goals as far as winning, it just took a bad turn. But we had to do some things, like had to get loud in the media, and I had to go out and be a villain, and you know, Rich had to say what he had to say in order, you know, for it to get done. And And I think now people are starting to like see and understand a little bit, but they didn't see it at the time, you know, which
really shows you the difference between from the old analog cable TV to more web-based social media and streaming. The power to control the narrative now has fallen into the hands of the players more than ever.
What, this is seven years ago? So, I mean, it is what it is, man.
They still ain't got it right.
Yeah. You know,
7 years later.
Yeah,
still ain't,
like,
they're in the worst position they was when you left. 7 years later.
I left. So it's like, man, you know, it's tough because I met like all my friends to this day, you know, that I like from New Orleans, like my chef, my stylist, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody that I knew, you know, I only knew New Orleans. I only knew in New Orleans, bro. Like New Orleans was me. Like coming in at 19 and then all the way to 24, 25, I'm like, man, all I know is New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? And that shifts quick, you know, and when I had to, it was tough though, because when Rich was telling me, like, you got to go to the media, and I never talked about this, by the way. You getting the first exclusive. I've never spoken to anybody about this, you know what I'm saying, in the media. But it was like, when Rich told me, like, you have to, like, bro, you got to go and say, I was like, no, hell no. Be a villain? Man, change? I was scared. Like, at first I didn't want to be traded because I'm like, change is different, man. Change is hard.
Hell yeah.
Change is hard. And I was like, that's all I know. And I was like, to go to New Orleans, because I started doubting myself. Like, man, I know I can do it in New Orleans. I'm going to get all the balls, but I'm about to go play with Bron, Spotlight. I'm going to play with Rondo. Like, I'm about to play with all these players in L.A. Or wherever at the time. I didn't know where I was going, but, you know, like, I'm about to go play with some guys. And it's like, am I ready for that?
Now, my only issue about that season he requested the trade is that they were coming off the previous playoffs where they swept CJ and Dame. Remember that when Jrue Holiday was cooking CJ and Damian Lillard? They entered into the following season with a winning record. While AD was sort of faking an injury, it kind of looked like it at first. But the Pelicans, that team was pretty solid. But eventually, somehow Clutch Sports found their way in and changed course.
You know, I wasn't sure, you know, so I'm like, man, I don't know, let's figure this out over here. You know, I hit Bron, like, Bron, you want to come over here? Like, I'm hitting everybody trying to figure it out. So I didn't have to leave, so because I was comfortable, you know, and I mean, I'm glad I did make the change, but that shit was tough when he was telling me what I had to do, and I was like, man. But at the end of the day, you know, I had to grow up and do what's best for me at the end of the day and let the rest take care of itself.
So Ja Morant gets drafted number 1 instead of Zion, and you're probably still a New Orleans Pelican today.
I think, yeah, I'm probably still in New Orleans.
And you asked David Griffin, draft Ja Morant, and he didn't. That's why you listen to your star player.
So you got to take.
That's why you listen to your star player.
Yeah, you got to take Zion. Yeah.
That's why, man. And wow.
Of course they were going to take Zion because he's a much bigger draw. They can get all those ticket sales. When you really think about it, that's how messed up the Pelicans are. All that free marketing and promotion from the NCAA with Zion, especially him coming up at a time when TikTok started blowing up. So Zion Rise came alongside that platform. And now we can see how the Pelicans are not necessarily set up to even capitalize off of something like that. They'd even try to maintain the hype. And when I say maintain the hype, I'm talking about everything that it comes with. Keeping Zion on point, giving him the proper medical staff, trainers, start to cultivate him a little bit more, put some vets around him, maybe in the second season, third season. If you look at the Pelicans setup right now, they still got nothing.
But Washington's in a rebuild. You know, they've been rebuilding for a few years now. What is those conversations like? Obviously, they swing and get Trey. You know, they swing and get you. So clearly, they're trying to work their way out of the rebuild. But sometimes that just doesn't happen right away. You're in year 14, soon to be year 15, like myself. What are those conversations like with you as far as like being a part of a rebuild and trying to see that through?
From the outside looking in, Dre, like people don't understand. I didn't understand. I was one of these guys too. It was like, damn, Washington, like what? But then when you get here, you look at the facility, you look at, you know, the little details of it, the team. It's like, not bad. Like, I like the young guys on the like, these motherfuckers can play. You know what I'm saying? Like, they play hard. They're not afraid of the moment. They're not scared. Like, these guys can really hoop. And so for me, you know, I'm like, when I talk to the GM, when I talk to the owner, when I talk to the president, I'm always going to be about winning, right? No matter what, I want to win. And if that's here, then that's here, you know. But when you're, like you said, when you're in a rebuild, you know, and for me, I'm at a young 33, and every year that I play from here on out, I want to be able to compete for a championship.
I hear you, AD, but you're also at that age where you're becoming less and less available. And in today's NBA, star players like you, Ja Morant, and of course Trae Young, you guys have major issues on availability, and they're looking at your contract. If the number is too high, you guys basically become untradeable assets. Even though you're stars, we're seeing this season, you still become untradeable. Look what happened to Trae Young. The Wizards didn't have to give up any draft assets to get him. Again, I promise to take some of you fellas off your daily algorithms, and we tapping into a different way of perceiving this game right now. Yes, Anthony Davis does have value, but if he's not available in today's NBA as a star, getting paid almost $60 million a year for whatever team he currently is on, he's basically untradeable. He's a dud asset.
And if their goals align where it's like, you know, I just know, and you know, it's tough to be one of the worst teams in the league, and then next year you're a championship contender.
It's tough thing.
You know, but now if you're saying, hey, look, we can go from one of the worst teams, hey, we make playoffs, you get, you know, first, second round, and you stacking, then, you know, it's a different conversation. Yeah. You know, but it's not going to happen overnight, right? And so for me, like, I want to be able to compete for championships, and, you know, obviously this team is not there yet, you know? So I got to, like, I'm going into the summer, you know, having conversations with them, like, what's realistic? Like, what are y'all thinking? If we are, you know, trying to win, what other players are we getting? You know, are we getting other players? You know, like, what can we do? What's the flexibility? What flexibility do we have? And then kind of go from there. But at the end of the day, I want to compete for championships. Like, I've been to the playoffs, I've been to the West Conference Finals. I want to win. You know, I want to win. Like, goes back to the earlier conversation. Like, I want to go on the road. I want to go on the road, man. I want to go on the road and say, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So my desire for winning a championship, like, that's what I want to do. And you know, I've expressed that to them, and, you know, there's more conversation to be had though. But, you know, I do like these young guys. You know, I want to compete for championships, and, you know, who knows? Maybe it's here. I don't know.
You know, when we look at AD right now, he's in a very unique situation, as he came up in two different versions of the NBA. Him being in his early 30s, he's sort of used to that, oh, I'm a max player, I got the leverage, I can request a trade. Even though I get hurt and play 65 games a year, I'm still eligible for max contracts due to my talent. That version of the NBA is dying off. Him, KD, LeBron, that's what they came up, that's what they were used to. But just them working out a contract today is a lot different. KD's already taken a pay cut in Houston. The Lakers let LeBron James' player option basically expire. That never ever happened to the man throughout his career. So business-wise, this NBA environment is very different. And I'm not sure if AD has been put onto it yet, the way he's speaking. It is what it is. Sometimes it's good to tap into a different side of the algorithm and get into a little deeper bag about some of the nuances. But you fellas definitely hit up the links in the description below. Check out my NBA True Story playlist. And until next time, you guys stay safe. Peace.